Rawsome vegan gal here, and today I'm holding this beautiful purple cabbage because I'm going to be in the kitchen doing a video I call MYO, Make Your Own. I've done a couple other videos talking about making your own products. I didn't actually make them, but today I'm actually going to be showing you how to make your own sauerkraut. This is actually going to be a salt-free sauerkraut, so I'm not going to be using salt to ferment it. So it's an interesting way to do it, and I've already tried it and been very successful, and I've had people ask me to, make a video, how do you do it? So I decided to go ahead and do that. So I like purple cabbage, and I was actually told that purple cabbage is not called sauerkraut. It's the green cabbage that's actually sauerkraut. I don't know what the name is for it, but I still call it sauerkraut. I like purple. I love the taste of purple sauerkraut. I eat it raw, just snack on it, or roll it up with some other things inside, other vegetables. Because it's high in antioxidant. Anything that has a darker color, like purple or blue, blueberries, anything with a rich color has more antioxidants. So this is going to be my salt-free, antioxidant-rich sauerkraut. And I'm also going to be using some different herbs and other seasonings that are also high in antioxidants. So what I want to do is tell you a little bit about the ingredients I'm using and the benefits of them. So again, I'm referring to this wonderful book called Rawsome by Brigitte, and I'll have a link below to the name so you can look into it. So purple cabbage, just cabbage in and of itself, is from the brassica family, mustard, and it's neutral to warming and energy and is alkaline. It's a good source of fiber, protein, histamine, beta-carotene, folic acid, vitamin B1, B6, C, K, and U, bioflavonoids, calcium, fluorine, iodine, iron, potassium, and sulfur. Cabbage also contains indoles, which help prevent breast cancer by inhibiting estrogens from stimulating tumor growth, monoterpenes, which are antioxidants that give protection against heart disease and cancer, and various other compounds shown to have anti-cancer properties. So there you go. Cabbage is very good for you. There's many other things. I'm not going to go on and on. There's so many benefits: anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, diuretic. I mean, there's endless information here. Good for so many different conditions: cholesterol, cough, depression, eye infections, hearing loss, kidney and bladder disorders, ulcers. I mean, there's so many things. It's amazing. Who knew? Also, chopped cabbage leaves can be used as a topical treatment on painful joints, bug bites, stings, burns, eczema, rash, varicose veins. Unbelievable. So you might want to get this book and get all this information. This is from her part of the book called her Raw Food Encyclopedia. So then some other things I'm going to be using to make the sauerkraut that I want to show you and talk about are some ginger. I've got some fresh ginger over here that I'll show you. This is ginger root. I like to use fresh if I can. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grate the ginger and squeeze it mixed into the cabbage once I chop it up. So what's the benefit of ginger? It's hot and pungent and benefits digestion, improves circulation. It helps increase the concentration of amylase in the saliva, thus improving carbohydrate digestion. It also increases intestinal muscle tone and aids digestion, particularly that of fatty acids. It's also beneficial in treatments for colds, menstrual cramps, and arthritis. And in a double-blind study by Brigham Young University, ginger outperformed Dramamine in preventing motion sickness. And you do not have to peel before use. So I have organic ginger, of course, which is better. But what I do is when I grate it and squeeze it, I leave the skin on. But the skin is not that hard, tough that you can't just chop it up if you were putting it into something. So, but ginger is strong. So if you don't like the ginger kick, which I do, then you might want to use less than more. Then the other root that I'm going to be using, let me find that here, is turmeric root. So turmeric root, here's turmeric. If you can't get it fresh, you can also get the powder, but I prefer the fresh. So it's, I think, in a similar family as ginger. I'm not quite sure if it is, but it looks very similar. So turmeric is a pungent, bitter, and warm. It contains the antioxidant curcumin, known as for its anti-cancer and anti-inflammatory properties. It's excellent herb for arthritis, asthma, candida infection, eczema, jaundice, and high cholesterol. It's an effective post-trauma remedy used both internally and topically to reduce inflammation in bruises, swellings, and wounds. It stimulates wounds healing. It works as an anti-coagulant and has anti-fungal properties. It helps beautify the skin, eliminating acne, boils, and other impurities by purifying the blood and imparting a healthy skin color and texture. So you might want to get some turmeric. Again, if you can't get it fresh, use it dry. What I learned from an Asian woman who I was once talking to about turmeric, she said, in order for the body to absorb the turmeric, you need to put in some black pepper, and I never knew that. There must be something about it that helps, just like, for example, if you eat green leafy vegetables, which are high in minerals, you need vitamin C in order to absorb the minerals. So you use, on your greens, you use some citrus. That helps. That's vitamin C. So that, I never knew that about turmeric, so that was very interesting. The other thing I'm going to be using is some fresh rosemary. Here's some beautiful fresh rosemary from the garden where I'm living. Here's how nice it looks. And I'll tell you a little bit about rosemary. Rosemary is a warm, pungent, bitter, and drying. It's a natural antioxidant. It's been used to freshen the breath, aid digestion, ease anxiety, improve mental alertness, relieve headaches and coughs, and improve eyesight. Now I want to show you something, and I'm going to get up close to the camera because this is so unique to actually see it. This is the flower from the rosemary, if you could see that. It's amazing. It's a purplish color flower. Isn't that amazing? That's the flower, and it is edible. I'm not going to be putting it into the sauerkraut, but I just wanted to show you the flower. Isn't that beautiful? Unbelievable what our Creator can come up with. I mean, it's just amazing to just show it in its form and up close. So what I'm going to do now, so in order to make the sauerkraut, you need, of course, cabbage. So you want about, let's say maybe 5 pounds, and I have my jar here, so I want to tell you the best way to do it that I found was to get a jar that has a vacuum seal, and I'm not sure how big this jar is, but it's quite a nice size, and it's an Italian glass made by a company, I think it's called Bormioli, and then second word Rocco. Of course, it's like an Italian name, I don't know, but if I find it, I will put a link below too. So this is a beautiful jar, and it has a vacuum seal, so when you put everything in here, you want that because the fermentation needs to happen, so it needs heat and it needs pressure. So, and if you don't live in a warm enough environment, it may take longer to become sauerkraut, but if you do, a good place to keep it when you're fermenting it is in the garage, because it's usually warmer in there. Another thing you might want to do is put towels around it and see if that helps as well. But I've been pretty successful with mine, and it usually takes about 7 days. Now, I will do a follow-up video in 7 days and talk to you more about the actual process once it's fermenting and what to look for and how to pay attention to it and everything like that. So what you need to do is, I also had another smaller head of cabbage. The reason why I got this one too is because you're going to use some whole leaves. You're going to peel off some leaves to press the cabbage down, because that's what helps. The pressure helps to ferment it. So I opted to get another head just in case I wanted to use this up, because I want to have enough to fill this up completely. So if you're just going to buy one head, then you want to take off about 5 or 6 leaves. Peel them off as opposed to cutting, because those you're going to use to put on top and press down. So what I'm going to do now, if you can see me, is I'm going to cut this in half. Now, in order to do something to give it what we call a starter, you can actually use a probiotic starter. You don't actually need it for sauerkraut. The cabbage will actually ferment on its own. But the other thing is, if you do not live in a warm enough environment, that might actually help speed up the process. So I actually do have some probiotic powder here, as I'm trying to cut through this wonderful big cabbage here. So I do have some probiotic powder. Oops, and I cut it a little. Okay, I'm almost through it. Didn't quite get there. So I have here some probiotic powder from a company called, a brand called Sunbiotics. It's actually from a company called Raw Guru. I actually did a video on the Sunbiotic products. So this is a probiotic and a prebiotic powder, vanilla flavor. It's all vegan. They use artichoke powder and yakome powder, which are both prebiotics. And so it has beneficial bacteria. So I'm going to do a little experiment with this batch to see if it, it'll add more probiotics to it and if it'll do anything different to ferment it. So what I'm going to do, if I wasn't going to use this, I'll show you what I do to kind of create a starter. And I found this actually on a website, and I can't remember the name, but I was very thankful to find someone who was doing a salt-free sauerkraut and how to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut out the middle part here. And that I'm not going to use. I'm going to just put that aside. And it's something you could munch on always, but I don't use this usually in the sauerkraut when I make it. So what I'm going to do is, in order to make the starter, what you want to do is you want to cut up some like you normally slice it, like you make sauerkraut. And then you're going to use about a couple of cups of the cabbage, and then about 3 cups of water, and then we're going to blend it. So by blending it, we're breaking it down already, and then that's going to create a starter. And it actually works really brilliantly. I was pretty amazed that it worked so well. So for this, actually, I don't need to really cut it up the same way I'm going to cut up the cabbage for making the sauerkraut. I'm just chopping just pieces, because this is going to go into the blender, so the blender is going to do more of the work. So I'm just cutting it into like pieces, it doesn't have to be like I'm going to make finer, long, slices but I'm going to measure this just to get an idea. This is my kind of measuring. It's actually a container that actually has measure on it. So this is about 1 cup. And then I'm going to add a 2nd cup. And it looks like the other part I'm not going to use. So what I'll do is I'll probably have to cut that finer or else leave it aside, because I didn't realize I didn't need that much. So that's a little more than 2 cups. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out some water, and about 3 cups. 3 cups if you have hopefully filtered water or purified water would be best. And then I'm actually going to put that probiotic into the blender. Now, I don't know how much to necessarily use because I've never actually used it. So I have here just like a little spoon, and here's what it looks like. It doesn't really have it has like a whitish color. It actually smells really nice from the vanilla, and I've actually tasted it on its own. It tastes really yummy. So I have just this little spoon here. So let's just say I'm going to do about maybe a teaspoon or a teaspoon and a half or 2 teaspoons. I'm just going to kind of play with it. I'm not quite sure. Oh, and by the way, I will have a link below this video to this product in case you're interested in using it for making sauerkraut or just to add more probiotics, because we all need that. It's good for your health of your gut. Your gut is where your health starts. You need good flora, so that's why we make sauerkraut, because it helps, it creates beneficial bacteria. Or I should say it is beneficial bacteria for your gut. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to blend this up. And it doesn't take that long to blend. It's kind of create a lot of watery, so if you could see that, there's a lot of water and it's all blended up. Kind of got a little foamy on top. The foamy might be from the probiotic. So, and this is a glass blender I have from a company called Tribest, excuse me. It's their Dynablend. I didn't want a plastic blender, so I opted for this, and I will have a link below to the company. You could check out what they carry. So, so now what I'm going to do is, in the past when I've made it, I've actually put the starter at the bottom, but I also read on the website that you pour it in after you put the cabbage in, over it. So I never realized that. So we'll just do it that way. And Since this I already cut, I'm just going to cut it a different way. Usually I cut it this way, but since I already cut thicker pieces, I don't think I'm going to be able to get in that way. So you want to cut smaller, you know, thin, you know, like you see sauerkraut when you see it in the store. It's kind of smaller pieces. Now you could add other vegetables too if you like. I'm just opting to do purple cabbage. I just love it. You know, you can use fennel is nice. You could use carrots if you like, celery. Some people put other herbs in, parsley, scallions, fresh dill. I mean, the sky's the limit really what you can use. So, but again, you want to make sure you pack in the cabbage into your container. So, let's see here. So I'm going to move this aside here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I start the process here to put it in this container. You want to make sure your container is clean. If you've already made a batch, make sure it's clean and dry and cleaned well. So I'm going to put that in here. Now with the rosemary, I'm going to probably, after putting a small amount, start snipping off some pieces, as opposed to with the ginger and the turmeric, I'm just going to do that at the very end. So what I'm going to do now, since I've got some in there already, is I'm going to take some of my rosemary here. And again, use as much or as little as you like. I love rosemary. I love it because of its benefit to the body. So I probably would use more than most people, but you know, you can use less. It's up to you how you would like it. You know, everyone has a different palate. Like if you're not used to using fresh herbs, you might want to opt for less is more. You might want to opt to not use at all. That's just up to you, how it works for you. So I'm just going to put in some to start, and then as I cut and add to it, I'll add more. And you want to make sure when you clean my rosemary is pretty clean, but you want to make sure when you get it, you clean it pretty good. Okay, I'm going to add a little more here. So all I'm doing is pulling off it from the, you know, it has a center, kind of, I guess, a stem, I don't know what you call it. So I'm just pulling off the little leaves here and putting them in. And it's going to impart a different flavor to the sauerkraut than if you just did the cabbage itself. But again, I'm looking to make, like I said, an antioxidant-rich sauerkraut, and that's what this is going to be. Okay, so that's, I think, enough for now. I'm going to get some more of the cabbage to chop up. So I'm going to get my other piece here and cut away a little more of this center rib. Okay, and now I'm going to slice it the way I was going to do it before, which is just this way. Oops, some fell on the floor. We'll just forget about that piece. And if you find as you're cutting that you get more of that piece that's in the kind of the center that's hard to manage, then just kind of cut it away, you know. So I'm going to start adding some more into the jar. And it's amazing how it transforms itself from looking like this to when it becomes actual sauerkraut. How it actually breaks down and ferments. And if you wanted to do like a mix of the green and purple cabbage, you could do that as well. Like I said, there's endless options of what you can use. You know, if you like it spicier, you can add some spicy herbs. I'm not a fan of super spicy, but I do like ginger. So that's why I'm adding that to it. So as you see, I'm shredding it kind of like this. This is kind of like the size. If you get a few thicker pieces like here I have, it's still going to break down. It will break down. You don't have to be concerned that it won't. You don't want to make it too thick, although some people do, and it'll still, like if you make pickles, of course, you usually leave the cucumbers whole, and the brine, it will eventually ferment. It may take a little longer because it's thicker. Okay, so we're almost finished with it. I'm going to probably add some more rosemary, because we have quite a bit in here, and I wanted to kind of mix into the ingredients. So I'm adding more rosemary right now. Okay, so there's the rosemary. I'll add a little bit more. I made sure I got enough so I don't have enough to make this. Okay, I think a little more rosemary. Take another little piece here. And I don't chop up the pieces, the sprigs. I just, like I say, just break them off, put them in. It just adds to the flavor. Okay, so now I'm going to add some more cabbage. Just be careful when you come kind of to the end here, so you don't hurt your fingers. Now, I guess if you had a food processor, you could do it that way, but it doesn't always come out exactly the same as when you cut it yourself. You know, the shredder, I don't know how good the shredder works. It might not make it as long pieces like this, so I don't have a food processor, but I prefer to do it this way. It doesn't take that much longer, I don't think. So now what I'm going to do, what I'm doing, as you can see, is I'm actually pressing it down with my hand. I don't know if you could see that. See how I'm pressing it down, because I wanted to, that's the way it helps it ferment, is the pressure. So I want to press it down now, because I still have quite a bit more cabbage to add, and I want to make sure there's room for it. But then with the leaves on top, I'll also be pressing it down with that. Okay. So I still have a half here, quite a bit, so hopefully I can use it all. Because normally when I have cabbage, I prefer not to cut it and leave it like this. I would rather take off leaves as I'm using it to keep it fresh. But once it's cut, it changes, the energetics already start to break down. So that's how I usually store my cabbage, is I prefer to take off the leaves as I'm using it. They don't always come off so easily. Okay, I'm taking off that center part like I told you. Okay, and then I'm going to cut some more. It's definitely nice when you can make it yourself as opposed to buying in the store, because you can control what goes in here. You know, when you buy in the store, you can't always control, but you should always, when you're buying in the store, you should always look for ones that are, of course, they should be unpasteurized. You want to get the beneficial bacteria. So if they're pasteurized, you're definitely not going to get that. So I'm trying to press it down with my fist here. I don't know if you can see that. Press it down as much as I can, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to use up that other quarter. I might just have to eat it if I don't have room. I got a big cabbage. I didn't know how much I would need. I probably only needed the one for the whole thing, and with taking off some of the leaves. But I didn't know. I didn't want to be short. So, because in the end, you want to leave a little bit of room as it's fermenting, because it could bubble over if you put too much up. I usually stop around here. See, there's a line, kind of, not really a line, but if you could see the top of the jar. So I usually stop right around there, and that's where I put the cabbage leaves. Okay, then I'm going to add, I think I'm going to add some more rosemary. I haven't added rosemary in a while. I think I'm going to add some more. So I'm going to add some more rosemary here. I guess I could also put it in just like this whole, but I want to be able to have it and eat it. So I'd rather just break them off now than do it afterwards. So, I mean, if you like other herbs, thyme, oregano, sage, they might also impart different flavors. So there's nothing wrong with trying different things. If you're open to the adventure of trying, then why not? Okay, I'm going to add some more here, just for the flavor. flavor and the health benefits. Okay, and then I'm going to still have room for some more cabbage. I'm going to try to get the whole thing in, and then I'll have to pour the starter liquid into it. Okay, so some more rosemary. Okay, now I'm going to add some more cabbage again. Again, just slice it. I don't know if they actually make a different, other kind of a hand slicer that slices this way. I've never seen something maybe to look for. So I'm not sure. I might be able to get a little more in from that big piece, or else I might actually use some of those pieces. It's getting pretty full. I might actually use some of those pieces, break them off to put them on the top. So yeah, it's getting pretty full if you can see the jar. See, it's getting pretty full. So I'm not sure if I have room for any more cabbage. I'm going to try to press it down, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to. Because I'm pretty close to where I want to stop putting the cabbage and want to start putting the leaves. So I'm going to try maybe a little bit more. What I'm going to do, I think, is from this one, I think I'm going to take off some leaves to put on top. So I'll end up using that for some of the leaves. These are smaller. So I want about 5 or 6 leaves. So since these aren't full leaves, they're a pretty good size though. So I'm going to pull some off. And then I might actually end up having enough room, since I'm taking off some of the leaves. It might actually work, since there won't be actually as much left. There's some smaller pieces that I may actually use. I'm just going to keep them aside to see if I need them. Now, if you have a crock, they do make crocks to make sauerkraut, where they have, you know, I think they're ceramic crocks. So you can use that. This is a little more inexpensive. I think this was about $10 for this jar. So let's see, I have right now 1, 2, 3, 4, and then kind of this would be 5. So yeah, I think I'm going to make it with using the rest of the cabbage, which I'm actually happy about. So I really wanted to. So I'm going to take off a couple more pieces just to be sure that I have enough. If I can break it, after a certain point it gets hard to take them off. Okay, I think I'll just have that for now. And let's see if I can. Their pieces are getting a little smaller and not as big anymore. Okay, there's one more. Okay, so now I have just this much left, so that's not that much, and a little bit on the cutting board here. So I'm just going to chop that up, and then I'm going to add a little more rosemary. And then I'm going to show you how I put in the ginger and the rosemary. The other thing I have that I was thinking of adding, just for something different, and I didn't put it in earlier, but I have here some fennel seeds and some dill seeds. So I thought that might be interesting too. Now the benefit of, let me just tell you the benefit of, let's see, fennel. If I can find here, fennel and dill. Let's see. Fennel is pungent, sweet, and warm. It aids digestion and is a galactagogue. Its expectorant properties make it helpful in calming a cough. Its leaves are traditional eye, brain, and memory tonic. I'm not using the leaf, I'm using the seed. And then dill, let's see if dill seed right here, are pungent and warm. These seeds were traditionally made into a tea for colicky babies to sleep. It also helps keep you calm, good for a rumbling stomach. It aids digestion, freshens the breath, and relieves hiccups. So, you know, I'm going to add it to it and see what kind of flavor. Probably add about maybe a tablespoon of each, because there's quite a bit of cabbage in here. So I'm going to just put some of that in at the end, once I pour on the starter. So I'm going to use up this last piece here. I think I'll make it. I know me personally, I love the sauerkraut, and I could just snack on it all day. It's so delicious. Now, what would you do with sauerkraut? I mean, you have it in you put it in your salad, you put it in a wrap, you put it on top of your, you know, if you make like a cooked grain dish, anything like that. But to have it with your meal, that's what's important. So let's see, I'm hoping I can get this in. Just trying to use all my might here to press it down. I think I have finding a little more room. I think we're almost good, which I'm happy about. Happy that I was able to use it up. And I did not use the second one, so maybe you can know for yourself. If you have one that big, and I think I weighed it, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 pounds. I think it was around 4 or 5 pounds. That's probably enough for this size jar, unless you make more and you have like a bigger family, you know. So I'm going to move this aside for a minute, just to bring the jar up closer for you to see. So I'm still trying to press it down so that I have room to put the actual leaves on top. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to add a little more rosemary, since I do like it, for the flavor and the nutrients. And you want to use, it's better to use fresh as opposed to dried, in my humble opinion. The flavor, you know, if you had dried rosemary, I don't think it would impart the same flavor as using fresh. As with any herbs that you would use to make the sauerkraut. Okay. So, I think we have a good amount of rosemary in here now. Let's see how much I have left. I still have some more left. I think I'm going to take one more piece here to use. Not use the flowers though. Oops, I dropped the flower in here. I did not want to ferment the flowers, so I'll take that out. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those, the fennel and the dill seed, and put some in here as well. Okay. So that's it for the rosemary. Now I'm going to take my, well, I have dill seed here, and I think I could see if I could show you how it looks. So I might do actually just 2 teaspoons, just to see if I can actually take one out. I don't know if I could show it to you in the camera. You can see that on my finger maybe. That's the dill seed. That's what it looks like. So I think I'm going to use 2 tablespoons, 2 teaspoons, I'm sorry, as opposed to a tablespoon. But I'm using a bunch of different things in here, and we'll just see how it works flavor-wise, if I like it. You know, it may be too strong for me, but I like dill a lot, so I think I'll be okay with that. And then I'm going to add also 2 teaspoons of the fennel seed. And I do like fennel. Fennel has a licorice type of flavor, and this is what the fennel seed looks like. Oops, I don't know if I'm getting it into the camera properly, if you could see that. Whoops, I think I dropped it. Hard for me to get it. Oh, there, I can get one with a little tail on it so you can see. That's what the fennel seed looks like. So I'm going to take 2 teaspoons of fennel seed. And then once I pour the starter mixture on top, it should hopefully move it down. I'm going to shake it so it kind of gets down into, because I probably should have poured that in lower into the mixture. Or the other thing I could have done would be to put it all into a bowl and mix it all in. But I'm going to try to shake it down into the, if not, that's okay. It'll find its way down probably. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the ginger. And I have a good sized piece here. Actually, I'm going to do the turmeric first, and the reason being is that once I use the ginger, it's going to be strong on my hands, and then I'd rather do the turmeric first. So turmeric will stain, just like the purple cabbage. I don't know if you can see on my fingers, but it is natural, so you don't have to worry. So I did not rinse off the turmeric, so let me rinse that off. And I'm going to leave the skin on. So now for the turmeric root, I'm not squeezing the juice. I'm actually going to cut it up into really fine pieces, but I'm going to cut off the ends, and I'll show you the color here. It has a beautiful orange color. See that? That's what it looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make slices, like kind of like that, and then cut them the long way and make little minced pieces. And then I'm going to add that to the cabbage. Again, I could have put this in earlier to kind of mix it in. Or I think the better option would have been to put it all into a bowl and then mix it all in together beforehand, and then put it into the jar. That probably would have been a better idea. But I wasn't sure how much cabbage I need. So the other thing you could do is you could put it all into here and then pour it out into the bowl and then put it back in. That's also, you know, a little more involved, you know, because you want to make sure you're pressing it all down into the container. So it'll all be fine in the end. So I'm chopping this up into really fine pieces. You're probably not able to see that in the camera, but I could show you what they look like. It's just minced. You could also grate this if you want. I think I've done that before where I've grated it. I think maybe that's what I did last time. I didn't mince it. Probably should have grated it, but too late now. I've already minced it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to chop it even finer. I think in the past when I grated, I'd actually grated it with a fine grater. But that's okay. This will just be a little different. So I'm just going to put that right into the jar here. And if you could see my hands, I have turned a little orange, slightly. But again, that goes away. You don't have to worry about it that much. Not to worry, it's natural dye as opposed to chemical dye. Okay, so there's the turmeric. And then next I'm going to grate the ginger and just squeeze the juice into here. So yes, I did remember that I did grate the turmeric in the past, but that's okay. So now I have this really nice ceramic grater that has like a little well here. And I think I got it from a company called Goldmine. I'll have a link below this site below my video to their site. I'm not sure if that's where it was from, but I like it. It works really well. So I use it for my ginger. And you could use it for other things as well. But I like it instead of a metal grater. It works much better for things like ginger. And it has a place for it to go. The well is nice because then the ginger has a place to stay. It doesn't, you know, especially since I'm using the juice. Since I'm juicing it, I'm not actually using the whole root. And it's amazing. You saw the root the way it was, or I think it's called a rhizome. And then the fact that it will have juice in it is pretty interesting. You wouldn't think it would. But I'll show you once I'm done grating, then I'll squeeze it into the jar and you'll get to see that. So I'm just grating it away here. There's still a bit left. Now you want to be very careful when you use ginger because it's strong. So you don't want to touch your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, because it'll burn. So that's why I opted to do this as the last ingredient, so that I don't accidentally, you know, touch something. I mean, I'm right by the sink. I'll wash my hands up, but you want to, you know, wash your hands with soap so it doesn't get on you. You know, ginger is used for other things, for healing, for helping with circulation. Like people do ginger compress on different parts of the body, improve circulation. So there's quite a bit of ginger here. I'll show you once I'm done grating. I'm almost done. I'll show you what it looks like here. Here's the ginger. You can see that. I just don't want it to fall off. So now what I'm going to do is kind of gather it all together and make it kind of into a ball in my hand. And then I'm going to squeeze it right into the jar here. So it has little grooves. That's how you grate it. So I'm kind of moving it all together. You probably can't see what I'm doing, but I'll show you how I'm going to make it like into a ball here. I've gotten all of it off. So you see I have it all in my hand now. So now what I'm going to do, you can see this. Hopefully you can see that there's juice coming out. I don't know if you can see that because I'm not that close from the camera, but there is juice. And it is coming out at a steady stream. sure I get every little bit out. That's good. And you know, for other things, if you're using ginger for cooking, you could just you know, if you want to grate it, you know, and just use it that way, you can do it that way as well. But you'd use a different type of a grater that makes like pieces. But again, ginger is very strong, so you want to opt for less is more. Don't forget this is a large jar, so it's going to all mix in. So I think I'm almost done. And then I don't know if I could show you some on my skin. You might be able to see there's the juice. I'm trying to see. See, there you go. As long as, wanted to make sure you see the juice actually. So let me just wash off my hands so I don't have the ginger on me and I don't touch myself. So excuse me for just a minute. I'm going to wash with some soap so that I don't touch the ginger. And it did get on my cutting board, so I'm just going to move that out of the way for right now and deal with that later. So we have all the ingredients in now. I'm just going to pour this starter liquid on top and let it pour in. So like I said, in the past I've done this on the bottom, so the blended up pieces were on the bottom, but now it's on the top. So we'll see if that makes a difference. I don't know if it will or not. Like I said, I've never done it before this way. I've always done it the other way, where I put it on the bottom. So there is some juice already on the bottom from it, but I'm just pressing this down too because I want to have room for the pieces that I'm going to put on top. We still have some left here. We're going to pour the rest in. Oops. And the liquid is flowing down, so I'll show you how much liquid is in here. Now you want to press it. I'm still pressing it down because there's room to do that now. And I have a little bit of cabbage left here. So I'm going to try to get it all out. So like I said, it didn't take that long to blend it. It's a very quick process, just like, you know, you rev it up and then you turn it off. So it makes like, see how the pieces are? That's what it comes out to be. So that's kind of the starter. So now my starter's on top where it's usually on the bottom, but some where the liquid is on the bottom. And again, I'm pressing it down more because I want to have room for those cabbage leaves. And then once I'm all finished, I'll show you what it all looks like. And the water is going to rise up as it ferments. Now let me just wash off my hands so I got the stuff all over me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cabbage leaves and press them in to push it down even more. So I'm just going to push it in wherever I can find room. There isn't a lot of room here, so I'm just going to kind of push it in. I don't know if you can really see what I'm doing. Make sure I have a little bit of a view. I'm trying to just press it in on the corners. And you could just roll up the pieces as best you can. Okay. So I don't know if I'm going to use all the pieces. I don't know if I'm going to have room for them. We'll see. It's a pretty full container. Okay. Oh, there's almost no room for them. Let's see. I think I'm going to have a couple of leftover pieces. So you see I'm putting it all the way to the top. Trying to press it in as best I can. It's a lot of labor. I feel like I got a good workout from this. I don't know if there's any more room here. I think we might have to call it quits. The other thing you could do with those bigger pieces is break them up and push them in if you think that you can't get them in. Just kind of have to find room to just squeeze it in. Doing my best here. see, maybe I'll take one more, half of a piece. Let's see if I can squeeze any more in. The more pressure, the better, so that it will ferment. Okay. Okay, I think we're good. And I'm going to close this up now and show you the final product. Now you could see some water already. See all the liquid in there? I don't know if you could see that. I'm moving it around so you can see the liquid. So that's the whole jar. Now when we're done, it's going to look a little different. But that's what it looks like right now. It's pretty full. And then those cabbage leaves, you could see the whole, I don't know if you could see with the light here, those whole leaves are on the top, all the way up to the top. So then I'm just going to set it on the counter here and let it do its thing. And I'll be back in a week to show you the results. And again, to give you some more follow-up information on what to look for as it's fermenting, to pay attention to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to. So I thank you for watching. It's the Rawsome Vegan Gal.